Very well.
Okay, well, okay. There, now
And
we're
that's
done.
really
Danny?
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a, I don't know what's all in it, but it's a compound that makes it.
Danny, can you sign out? Yeah. You should be able to, the host should be able to unmute people too.
I don't. Julie went and got money on me, she was gonna go to insurance and it's like only $20-some. So she said, okay, so what's my cost? $70-some.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
after.
I'll call the meeting to order and we'll stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to our February 20th meeting. We are on Zoom, so I would ask everyone to please acknowledge to me if you would like to speak. So I'm going to start by asking Denny if he can hear us.
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you, Danny.
Yep.
Okay, I'll start with, or move on to additions to the agenda. Amy, do you have anything?
Yes, I just wanted to talk about a policy for the vehicle procurement, to just discuss if we have one, and if not, potentially consider.
Hey, Christie?
I just have an update from the department head meeting.
Ernie?
I got a planning and zoning, sort of an update for you guys, or question, it's information, I would say.
Christie, our auditor.
I do not.
Okay, I think everything else is. Or do we want to add Adams?
I was just gonna say,
Jason's?
I want to verify sure.
Okay, we'll have, add the Adams store to your agenda, Jason. I think everything else we do have. Okay. Oh, Danny, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay, sorry I missed you. I have to remember to call
Yep,
for.
no problem.
Okay, then we will go to the consent agenda for the February 6th regular meeting minutes and the monthly bills. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So move. So move.
I'll second.
Any questions or corrections to the minutes and bills? Do we have anything to pass around to sign or anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that it? Yeah.
Okay. Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. We will go on to employee time, which we don't have anyone here. So we will move on to the Walsh County Three Rivers Soil Conservation District with Josh.
You guys,
Morning, Josh.
I think I emailed this already, but if you want to paper copies, have a paper copies in. Okay, so what we're passing around, this was given to us by Rachel Takala of the North Dakota Rural Water Systems Association. She's a member of the Walsh County Water Quality Board, along with other members of people from the SCD, NRCS, and other local folks. We're proposing an update to groundwater protection ordinances, as well as source water protection. But we're particularly thinking about the portable aquifer here today. So just a little background, portable aquifer is 43.2 square miles. 76% of it is covered in cropland. Another 13% is pasture and ranch land. And then the remainder is gravel and private land. There is the North Dakota Department of Environmental Quality, about 30 years ago, started a 5-year rotation for groundwater protection. And so the last set of data that we have is from 2018. I haven't seen the 2023 data. So there is already like a state program that checks every 5 years. But the real issue that we're here for today is that there's several places in the aquifer that are exposed. Given that it's in a gravel, sandy region, gravel is porous already. It presents a public health concern. We've seen through our office Hommy Dam is a good example. You know, Hommy Dam has been on the impaired water body list since 2010, with increased, phosphorus and other, toxic nutrients. Which, you know, so last summer, Hommy Dam, I'll just give you that example. There's a mandatory reporting limit of, microcystin, which is, the toxic, substance in cyanobacteria. The mandatory reporting limit is 10 parts per billion, and regularly last summer, our samples came back with over 500, over 1,000 parts per billion. We don't want to see the same thing in our aquifer, and we want, it is one of the largest sources of groundwater, of drinking water in the county. And it is also, there's a conflict because it is also in a gravel pit region, and we are, of course, are a rural county that relies on gravel. I know that the county actually owns, I think it might be the biggest pit out there. I don't know if that's exactly true, but one of the bigger pits that's leased to Strata. And so the ordinance that we have before you here today sort of spells out an example. We don't have to adopt everything in this. We wanted to bring this to your attention, kind of give you a sample ordinance, some of the things that we can help to put into place. So the ordinance lays out different zones, which would have different regulations and different kinds of enforcement. There'd be a zone 1 for drinking water or a critical impact zone. A zone 2, which would be like the drinking water potential impact zone, so a little bit more lenient. And I guess the other couple things that we can say, we have one landowner over in the gravel pit area, was a small gravel pit, like a 6-acre gravel pit, was willing to let us use that site as a demonstration site of what we can do for remediation. So even though that's quite small, we could at least begin with a kind of demo site. We are doing a lot of education and outreach related to water and water quality. So on April 12th, we have our water festival. I believe they used to do them in Walsh County, but it's been so long, I can't find any of the records for them. So we're doing that in partnership with the Dakota Science Center in North Valley. So we'll be hosting that for all of Grafton's 4th and 5th graders. So, I mean, we're doing a number of those kinds of things, but we would also like to see help with policy and regulation to protect the groundwater.
So what would that all consist of, the water festival?
The water festival?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, water festival is, it's an education program for 4th and 5th graders. But we have a number of area partners. So the North Dakota Game and Fish, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Dakota Science Center, the North Dakota Department of Environmental Quality. I can send along all this, so you don't have to scramble.
that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can send you down the info.
And where will it be held?
It will be held at the, at North Valley, right? Yeah.
Okay.
We were gonna do it at the Centennial Center, but I think it was booked, so, North Valley.
Okay,
And we're planning to expand it to all area schools next year, but this year it'll have about 150 students, I think. And we'll plan to expand it next year. So,
I know when I was on the board, they used to have them, that's many years ago already.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Hommy Dam and Park River Schools and Edinburgh and them would come.
Okay.
Then they'd have a little day and give them, I don't know if it was a badge or something,
Yeah.
information, and kids
Yeah,
had some presenters. It was sort of a big deal back then, but I suppose when Richard quit,
yeah.
nobody took it over.
Yeah, so we're really fortunate that we are building that those kind of relationships back, and so Brandon and I will be headed to some training this weekend, as we started. Yeah, this weekend we'll be going to do some training for that, so I'll have more information on that.
So when you look at this ordinance, and I'm talking like civil action back there, or even the page before where performance standards, you got some blanks in there.
That's right.
Who, are you looking for somebody to figure that out?
Yeah,
Planning,
we would-
zoning, or?
Yeah, we would need help with that, yeah, so that's one of the reasons that we're, bringing this to your attention, is that we do need some input, from you guys, from anyone, with the water board, other entities that might be overseeing water quality, we would like to have input.
I think Alan and Danny were both in touch with that lady.
That's right,
I know
yeah.
there's communication with her.
For sure, yeah. Alan's the one that, he's on our board. He brought Rachel to the board meeting a few months back and kind of got the ball rolling with this, so.
So they were, and I think the object of them two, with commuting with her, we're gonna bring something to planning and zoning now.
That's right,
Is my understanding.
that's right, yeah, that is the plan, yeah.
Okay.
Another thing that we would be totally open and interested in would be maybe a member of the county commission to be, to sit in on some of our Walsh County water quality team meetings. I don't know if, and I know you guys are already stretched thin, but, I don't know if that might be something too. Or someone that would make more sense. I don't know exactly who to talk to about that, but someone from planning and zoning maybe, or whatever, so.
Well, Denny is on both.
Okay,
That
yeah,
work
yeah,
portfolio
So
and-
he'd be a good
So-
choice.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, in order for somebody just to keep it consistent
For
and have
sure.
all the information,
yeah.
he might be, if Danny, if you're willing to,
Yeah,
when are you planning on these meetings?
so, we have one tentatively planned for March, sometime in March, I'll get that information out.
What's the group again?
It's called the Walsh County Water Quality Team.
And who is all on that?
So right now, it's, Rita Sven, of the NRCS. It's Rachel Pakala, Alan Zeiden, myself, Brandon. I guess David, our watershed coordinator, will also be on that. And we welcome other people. That's one of the things, I believe that Rita, and Sarah Johnston had been doing some of this before the pandemic. And so we need an updated list of people that's one of the things we're working on, is updated list of people to add to the team.
Okay,
Madam Chairman.
yes,
So Josh, you mentioned that this is an update to the ordinance. What are the updates?
Well, I'm not certain that we have a groundwater protection ordinance, that is, I guess that this is one of the things that, Rachel brought to our attention, because we asked, I believe it was Denny, we asked, like, when was the last update to the groundwater ordinance, and I don't think we knew when the last one was for Walsh County. I'm not certain that we have had that happen for a while, so I don't know what the existing one looks like, or if there,
Oh, you've never even seen an existing ordinance?
I don't know if there is
Yeah.
one, yeah.
I just got on planning and zoning, and I don't even know if there's one either.
I don't know if there one exists, so that's
And that's why I think you got an example here, sort of copy,
That's right, because we didn't wanna invent the wheel,
Right.
we wanted to, so I did do some digging around and, my apologies if there is one that exists, but I don't believe there is.
Yeah.
So
so you're just updating us to.
updating to one to exist, I guess.
Yes,
So
okay,
the whole thing would be an update to my understanding. I don't know that there's one of these exists. One of the things that we'd also want to think about is that I know that, in some cases, there are exceptions given to gravel operations that are no longer, really active with a pit. But they are able to maintain a sort of active status by going in and digging, maybe once a year. I don't know exactly what the numbers or rules are on that. And, my grandfather started Ellingson Construction. I grew up operating bulldozers and excavators and building roads, so it's not against the gravel industry or anything like that. It's been in my family for a long time. But, water is really, really important, of course, and we wanna see ways that we can maybe close some of those loopholes, and find common ground strategies to be able to remediate those things, so,
Bernie?
And I know for past, and I, Mary Wild and I measured the gravel pits that one year,
yeah,
existing and non-existing, if they're active or not, that was a big issue with everybody.
yeah,
They take one, you know, the pile would be lids and they take one bucket out of the pile and say it wasn't, but yet it was non-active.
That's
And I
right.
said, well, what is it, active or non-active?
yes.
Yeah, and yet that'll be the tough one when you
Yeah.
start, you know, reclaiming some of these.
Yeah.
So is 10 acres out of the 30 non-active?
That's right, yeah, no, and that is something that I think
Yeah, it'll be an issue.
that will for sure be an issue, and it's something we'll have to tackle as a group and try to come up with good answers, but one thing that I'll also mention is that, I have seen, an example of a reclaimed gravel pit. This is quite a ways away, it was in Valley City, but, you may also know that we're working on a podcast, and I want to interview the Director of Conservation, or Director of Communications for the North American Grouse Partnership. And she was on a ranch in Valley City, and the land that they live on is a reclaimed gravel pit. That soon after it was reclaimed, it went into soybeans for a few years. And I don't think that went very well. And so they were able to get it, and then it's now a reclaimed prairie, and it's very beautiful, and there's lots of like ecological advantages to that. So it's like a 30-acre example of some of what we might be thinking about, you know. And then the other thing is, this is maybe a little too soon to share, but we're working on a major grant right now, which would be a working lands grant. There's lots of partners that we're in talks with on that, including people like General Mills and the Sustainable Food Lab and lots of others. And I don't know that any funding through them would be directly beneficial to what we're talking about with groundwater, but, that grant is connected to some of the broader, kind of water, soil things that we're talking about. So I'll have more information on that if we end up doing it.
Okay, do we have any more questions for Josh? So I think this probably will then go to the planning and zoning, and they will, you know, work together with you
Yeah,
and
yeah.
get this all figured out. We sure want to make sure that our water is okay for everyone to drink, and
Yeah, and I mean,
so,
to my knowledge, there's no reason for alarm or
No.
anything right now, but this is a preventative measure. You know, prevention costs a lot less than
mhm.
remediation later on, so that's the deal. And the main areas that we're most concerned about is where the water is exposed, where the pits have been dug deep enough and the water table has risen, and it's already a shallow, it ranges between 4 feet deep and 45 feet deep, so it's already very
Well,
close to the surface, so that's, anyway, that's what we got. I don't know if there's no more questions, though.
okay, well, I'd like to meet the guy in the back there. I don't think we've been introduced
Yeah.
to.
So this is David Bounds, BOUNDS, right? What's that? BOUNDS, is that your last name?
Yes, like a deer bounds through the woods.
Yeah,
And you are,
The new watershed coordinator,
okay.
so he'll be,
my very first day.
yeah. He'll be taking on, 319, the federal 319 watershed project that we're working on, and it's in its last year, so we're gonna be updating that too.
Okay,
So.
well, welcome, Mr. Bounds.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you so much for coming, Josh, and updating us on what's going on.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Okay, Jason? Good morning.
Everybody's packet, so. Just a couple of items, in my standpoint this morning. The first is that's on my agenda pack, is the North Dakota bridge inspection. We had another round of inspections to pay for. There's 8 inspections on this bill. The inspections individually range from a cost of $1,567.45 to $2,131.37. So our final total is $8,562.06. This would be a busy year for them. Of our 209 inspected bridges, 139 will be inspected this year. Starting in April,
How many, Jason?
139.
So this is what they have done or what's coming?
This is what they've done. We haven't, those bills will all be coming. So,
So no change as far as you know on how they're going to do this.
no. No
So it's
changes.
gonna keep just bleeding us.
Yes. Yes. And well, the more we can get off, the better. We're working on getting bridges off. We're getting them off the inspection system. We've taken 3 off in the last year. Some of them are going to aluminum or the box culverts, and then we can change inspections from every 2 years to 4 years. Some of our bridges are on a yearly inspection basis. We have bridges that are closed that they have to come and inspect on a yearly basis to prove that they're still closed. And we need people to leave the road closed signs there because the bridge is closed for a reason. But we have people moving them still so they can get access across them. So the bridge truck will be going out and putting permanent barricades through, so nobody can do that anymore without having to take something to create their access. And we don't like creating these detours anymore than anyone else does, but it's just a fact of life. And honestly, I don't see it getting any better for a very long time.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Amy.
And you know, when we talk about proactive, it's like they may even be without even realizing it, pushing us to be looking ahead of at this. So with the amount of bridges we have in this county, what can we do to get off this list, like you said, and just looking at every option we have to not have this cost year after year. So I think that's a good plan going forward, is what are options that can get us away from this inspection, and with the amount we have, it has to be priority.
Well, 3 of our closed bridges are supposed to be removed out of bids. Those bids were part of the package, got pushed back to December 13th. So hopefully we haven't heard of any other issues, but I haven't heard of anything about the federal government giving the allocation, or permanent allocation of funding to the DOT, or if they're on another continuing resolution, or what's going on with that. I haven't paid attention last week, honestly. But it all is coming down to that funding from DC getting here.
Do you know what next county has, like, we have the most in the state as far as bridges?
No, Grand Forks does.
Well, okay.
Isn't it Grand Forks? I thought I just
No.
read that in the newspaper, that Grand Forks was number 1, we were number 2.
It could be, it goes,
Richland?
no, it's not.
No, it's Grand Forks.
It's either Grand Forks or us. We're the top. They have,
I thought we were number 1,
Yeah.
but I don't.
no, we're right up there. We're in the top 3.
I don't think we want to.
We don't want to be number 1.
There's a reason why everybody in the state knows what our bridge is.
If we have to remove a bridge, where would we take that money out if we can't wait for DC funding, where would you take that out of?
Not to be out of our bridge crew to go and do it. So,
Right,
I mean, it's right now, the cost for removing them, probably in the future, we'll be looking at taking some of them out on our own, or some of them we can't. And
right,
yeah, one that we're still sitting there from the 2023 flood.
Yeah.
That we're working with FEMA and SHPO. Because it's built in 1934, so as soon as it's 50 years old in the state of North Dakota, it's historic.
Yeah.
So then you have to put up for adoptions, and then you have to do these other things.
that one is where?
Right west of your house.
Okay, I thought it was, so depending on the flood, depending on the ice, whatever, you might have to remove that bridge without waiting. Right?
And
We can't? So that could cause like major issues
Mhm.
for downstream.
Yeah, it's historic, so we have to go through the process. We can't just remove any of those. So the Pony Trust bridges and those historic bridges, we can't just go and remove them. It has to go through a process. You have to go through. So with that bridge, we thought we had them convinced that with the things that were with it and that bridge, that we just be able to demo it on site, much less cost, have it done this winter, so we don't have any things this spring. All the paperwork and everything that we had done, we paid for it ahead. That's the SHPO decided we need to put up for adoption. So as soon as they go for adoption, this bridge can no longer be taken apart by excavators. Now we're bringing in specialized cranes to lift up a 20-foot wide, 42-foot long bridge with a concrete deck. Then their next thing is, well, maybe you just take the concrete deck off. No, we can't just take the concrete deck off in pieces because they're attached to the bridge infrastructure. So if we're removing that concrete, we're gonna damage the bridge that they were trying for us to save. So we think we have it back to the point where we can just remove it again. I would really like to, because we're in middle of February. I want this thing gone a month ago. We don't know what kind of a spring we're still gonna have.
That could be an issue for several landowners,
It is, I get phone calls.
because you know that it's going to, yeah, it could block, flooding people, I mean,
Yeah.
who's liable for that then?
Mother Nature.
Well, not if, yeah, not if there's a
But our
way.
hands are tied. and
I know.
It's like opening
I
a
know.
bridge and you don't have the inspection done. They rule it.
I mean, there's two people right there that could be affected, months in.
That's why I wanted out.
Yep. And I've gotten calls on it too, so. Amy,
I'm just all for historical and preservation to a degree, but function has to go into, I mean.
Well, here's the other part I mentioned to him was, okay, you want me to pick it up in one piece and move it to a county lot. One, I'd have to have a spot big enough to put it, which we can make one. But in order to move that bridge, I have to pick it up in one piece and take it across a bridge. There is no way for me to move this bridge without taking it across a bridge. I can't go to the north because it's 9 tons. I can't go to the west
Oh.
because the Texas crossing is too steep to take out there. I can't go east because it's not wide. The Pony Trust Bridge over to there isn't wide enough to take it through one piece. So I have one bridge that's capable of taking it out of that area. And the last thing I wanna do is take a bridge across one of our good bridges.
one of our
and damage it.
best bridges in that township, yeah.
So,
And then what do they do with it, Jake? Like, they want to restore this, so it'll be on the lot, and then what?
well, what happens is you put it up for adoption.
Mhm.
So somebody can adopt the bridge and you can take it in for historical reasons and and then they can take it to their house, their property, whatever they want, their historical and have.
The Parker Bible Camp has one there. That was a county bridge.
Well, we could have got rid of that bridge.
So,
I know somebody who wanted it.
right,
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Christie.
So my question is, what are we doing on our other bridges? Are we being proactive? Are we working on them this winter? Have we been able to? Do we not have our truck yet? What are we doing to be
we don't have our
proactive?
truck yet.
My God.
So they are still having issues. They're talking, I've been calling down to Grand Forks. They cannot get the equipment they need to make our engine talk to our transmission. So we are having an issue with that. We have been going out and replacing bridge planks and doing minor things like that we can do without that. But right now, our skid steer is in the shop and our truck is in the shop. So, the guys can go, I mean, the guys are willing to go up when we have planks, they're going up and replacing them on by hand. But right now, thankfully, we haven't had to do that, knock on wood, but we're willing to do that. We know we have to have bridges open. But it's one of those things where I've called and asked the company that's working on our truck to give me the information for who they're talking to, and I will start calling them on a daily basis. But they have not given me the information, because we're tired of it, we need something back, and honestly, if this is the way it's gonna be, I have a really bad taste since I've started in the last few years with our international trucks. The very first day I started, I had a $46,000 bill sitting in front of me from an engine that blew up, that they weren't willing to warranty on anything, or we had just gone off warranty. So we had to eat that engine at the end of the year, and we got that paid, but now we're sitting here and we haven't had this truck since October. Because it was supposed to be a quick thing, we get it down there, get it back and be able to do things all winter. We had a perfect winter for going and redoing some bridges. We had one that we still have, that was on our list, that we knew we could take all the gravel off of it, rebuild it and have it ready by spring. Now, we're not in a crunch period. We don't have it back. I don't know if we'll be able to have it done by spring. Because it's a longer process. So it's, but to have two old bridge trucks sitting around, just in case the one goes down, makes 0 sense. The cost to have two of those trucks is not good. It's $156,000 for using them. I found even those what issues when I did look at it. But for $136,000 on the used truck, I don't know what we're gonna gain. What issues are gonna be hiding in that one? So we are working on, we have a list. I will be meeting with Ryan and Logan next week on that list to go through and take up and see what type of things on the bridges that are coming up for inspections, which ones we can handle, which ones we can't. When it comes to a pony truss, there's nothing we can do.
Well, would we be, maybe this is dumb, but should we be looking at purchasing that truck so we can actually get some work done? Because who knows when we're gonna get this other one back? And then do we just sell one? Because we're sitting here losing months and months of valuable time where we could have been working on bridges and getting ahead. And what if we don't get this other truck back for another 6 months? What are you guys gonna do all summer? Nobody's giving you an answer and we're getting it back. Do we need to look at, getting a replacement for that truck and then selling one?
I'm tending to agree with you, Christie.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I don't know where I get the funding for that one. So but yeah.
We have to take it out of county general, I'd say take it there and do it, because we've lost, what, 5 months already? A very good months that they could have been doing something.
Yeah.
Because almost, we sit here and complain that they're not getting nothing done, and then all of a sudden our hands are tied. Like you said, it could be another 5 months. Especially when they won't let you talk to the guy, and get no answers.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to run down there.
I don't think it'll do any good if they're not
No.
listening.
Well, Danny, did you want say something?
Yeah, yes. Is there a consumer advocate group or a Better Business Bureau or someplace that we can push this thing along through? It seems to me that there should be some consumer rights that could be put in place here.
I can reach out to find out.
I mean, they have lemon laws on pickups, and people are pushed, they get pushed through the court system and these companies are held responsible for it. So I would think there'd be something we could do with this truck. This is ridiculous.
Well, Jason, do you wanna check into that?
Yep. I will.
And, even check into another
We'll look for some-
truck to come back with us and we'll have to decide something because we can't sit here and do nothing like you said.
Mhm.
So, do we need a motion on the bridge inspection?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the bill.
Second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll take the roll. Benny?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Christie?
Yeah.
Ernie?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried. Okay,
The next thing on my agenda is after 45 years working for Welsh County, Bill Jasmer has given me his date. His final date working for the department will be on March 31st. It will be a wealth of knowledge that we will be losing. And asking for permission to refill that position. I have 2 other gentlemen that have talked to me and said that they are considering their retirements this year, but do not have any dates yet.
We knew it was gonna happen. You wanna hire somebody so you can at least get some learning under?
Yeah,
Is
right now I have Bob. Bob's gonna go out there this week and go and ride with Bill. Bob Rosset.
Okay, I just,
He's our blade operator on the Park River on 12B. Wanting him to go out there, so it's not an area we can just go and put someone that's never been in a blade in. So we don't know what we're gonna get, but I need to have somebody out there that can know some of the ground, so.
I know he was concerned about keeping Adams in the place there, but I think we want it, don't we?
I have zero interest in closing Adam's shop.
Yeah.
I
I know Bill was concerned and I said the same thing, I can't see closing it.
Closing it, then we have to bring out the equipment that we have a spare truck out there, we have a blade out there, then we'd have to bring both home back to Park River, and we don't have a shop big enough, out there at least stored. So, and then you'd have to drive to Adams to get halfway. Take a blade out to Perryville, it's a long trip from in Park River, it's not saying it can't be done. But it'd be a lot better in my mind to run out there with the pickup and get the equipment and go. So
Do we have some in-house, somebody interested in it?
Bob's interested in that position.
In going to Adams?
Yeah.
See, that was another one of my concerns, because it's western, you know.
But I talked to other staff, we don't have anybody interested in Bob's at the moment. So,
Okay,
but it still would be the one blade operator.
right. But at least he's willing to go that way.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for Jason to fill the highway maintenance tech position.
do I have a second?
One
Second,
second. Let Dan, I was waiting for him.
Any more discussion on the hiring for Bill Jasner's position? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Danny?
yes,
Amy?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes,
Christie?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried.
before we go to that Adams store, I was just, Jason said information, there's a Rhodes Scholar program, and I just wanted to give a shout out to, Tier 1, Bob Ross, got over 30 hours, and they called it Voyager Level 1, Clint had over 90 hours. So they're doing their online and learning more and more things all the time, so.
George Bittville got the level 1 as well.
Okay, Georgia, okay, so just recognizing that they are doing stuff and,
They are.
and getting more knowledge, so
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
And we had 2 guys at, chemical spraying classes last week, so.
Okay.
That's not part of the Road Scholar program. It's
No.
just- We have to have people certified to do it. So we've been, trying to figure out ways that. Trying to see, there's nobody else in the state that's done this, but trying to figure out if there's ways that we can incentivize, people learning different pieces of equipment. So that they're proficient with a piece of equipment, not just getting in, starting the key and being able to, but if you knew how, depending on how much, many of the pieces of equipment you knew how to run, that we could do something with a wage scale. There's nobody that does anything like that. It's something I'm gonna try and talk to Tanya about. Just for a future to try and incentivize more of learning and
What
stuff
job was that, Jason?
for all our guys.
No, for something scale.
For our pay scales.
Oh,
for our
pay
wage
scale,
scales.
I see.
So that you come in with a truck
Yep,
and then the skid steers, the payloaders, the excavators, the mortar graders,
mhm,
or the crack sealer, the mastic machine.
Yeah.
With that, you need to have another license too, with the oils for hazmat. So we're just trying to see if we can incentivize some of those things too.
sure. Ernie?
I know I have, the dumpster's gone out of Humvee,
Yeah,
that thing was on its last legs, it'd be 6 years ago,
it's in Park River, everyone's been rebuilding it.
okay. And
So,
also Humvee, I drove through there last week, I don't know, if you asked me, Christie, or something, it's gotten cleaned up and organized a little bit, so it looks much better than that. So, things are looking better, that's, and I know the highway was in there trimming trees or something one day, so, but at least, yeah, go drive through there, it's a bit, I thought it was a big difference, cause I sort of went like this and noticed it, and I asked Jason about it, so there is work getting done, there, cleaning it up, so.
I guess, yeah, I had one question about, the bill for the utilities at Hami. Since Susan is there, is she paying some of the utilities there?
there was nothing in any of the policies that for anything like that, about her paying anything in the stuff. It's something that I've mentioned we're gonna have to take a look at. We also have a water break out there that I have to get kiln out there to fix. We finally found it.
Okay. So we should talk about that in the spring at our HOMI meeting. If we have somebody that stays out there when typically they move off during the winter,
Have they moved out? I don't know.
or were they paid? I don't
remember finding people use it or not, you?
I think he did,
I don't know.
but we would have to go back and look.
It's a sticky situation there too, because they own the house.
Yep,
So if they own the house, and, you know, you can't say we're not giving you power for them because,
no,
you know, but, yeah. It's.
let's visit that. Okay,
I'm just wondering if that's it, you know, within the job description then too, you know, to consider that amount within what we're paying. If it's so much per month, then that's not that's another perk, if you will.
yeah.
That should be
Mhm.
noted.
I don't ever know if her and Sharon negotiated that when she came in or not, I don't know.
I don't think so.
But you're right, let's look at it.
Yeah.
There's nothing in writing for it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
In my files that I can find, so,
Okay,
We have a few things that need to get cleaned up.
yeah, many.
What's that?
We have a few things that need to get
Yep.
cleaned up there.
Yeah.
okay. Should we go on to the Adams store?
Okay, Adams Store, I was presented this morning, Scott Grove, the Adams City Mayor, apparently has submitted a letter with interest in purchasing the Adams Store for $1. We have over $5,000 in asbestos removal and abatement project and type things into this building. To me, it doesn't set a good precedent to sell the building for $1, but it's not my choice. This money right now is all coming out of our buildings and grounds budget, so the removal of the asbestos is over $4,000 that came out of a budget that really should only be for the buildings on the campus here. To me, it shouldn't be going on to buildings outside of this. If this is something we're gonna be doing in the future, but I mentioned before, we're gonna actually have to start putting a budget together for it. But I don't know at what point you draw the line. This is a small building for asbestos removal. If it was a larger building, the asbestos removal costs could be substantial. I don't remember how much the asbestos removals were gonna cost, for the whole central school.
Yes, Christie.
So I have a question. Remind me, but wouldn't the city of Adams been offered this store prior to us removing the asbestos for $1? Or had that option to buy it for $1 back?
I would.
Why did they choose not to
They
purchase it, I
did,
guess?
when we had it on the sale.
Okay, and Denny, maybe he's got some information, but, so they chose not to buy it then, why the interest now?
Cause the expenses there.
Because the county picked up the tab,
Yeah.
right? So I guess I feel it's only fair that they pay at least a portion of that. I don't think we should be in the business of revamping the building so that they get it for $1.
Well, and also, yeah, it says they will cover the transfer of deed, but they want the document stating that asbestos has been removed. I think they should have some skin in the game before we would decide that we're gonna sell it for $1. Denny, do you have information?
Well, there's an ordinance in the city of Adams, for abandoned lots that need to be cleaned up. And, they were looking at fining the county because it was technically our lot and our building. And no, I don't like this either. It's setting a precedent. I totally agree, but I don't know where else we go with this.
You and Jason.
I mean, I don't like selling for $1 either, but at what point do you cut your losses and run? If we, I about guarantee nobody will buy it for even half of that amount. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna cost us quite a bit of money to remove that thing. But I don't like the precedents we're setting with this either, but I don't know what choice we have. It was either that or they were gonna start assessing a fine to the county because of this abandoned lot.
Amy,
So, can you remind me why we proceeded with the asbestos? The next plan was to remove that building.
Yes.
So the cost of that would be, I mean, we're only looking at more cost if we hang on to it. Versus we sell it, then we're done. We're not fined and we're not putting more money into tearing down a building.
so I'm assuming they don't wanna give us anything for the asbestos, cause it's gonna cost them to tear the building down. We sell it to them for $1.
Yeah,
Have we asked? Have we asked if they would share in the cost of the asbestos removal?
I don't know, I've only spoken to them about getting access into the building to make sure, cause it was unlocked, to get the people in there for the asbestos testing and those things, cause it was on our intentions and the direction I was given to remove the building. And then we kind of put the brakes to it when we talked about, we heard rumors that the city was interested in purchasing the building. So they're really interested in purchasing it. We put the brakes to it, otherwise we could kind of rip down. But the reason why we have to remove the asbestos is you can't just rip down a building and haul it to the site without having the asbestos removed from.
So they're willing to buy the lot with the building.
The way it looks, they're gonna buy it for $1 so the building, so the city can dispose of the building properly.
We're in a high spot. If we don't, then we're gonna have to keep that thing clean, mold, you name it, they're gonna be sending us. I don't think they're just gonna do it already. And I agree, I don't like giving them for, I don't know. I would talk to them, see if they're willing to give us something. And then we can, you know, I mean, it's worth the try.
Yeah.
If they don't, then I guess we either take a buck or else we sit on it.
Well, even if we take something, like, we're setting a precedence. There's a lot of buildings that are in the county, and if somebody, we would do the same thing, they would say, well, you did this for the Adams building. So,
You almost need a policy.
yeah,
I was gonna say, not
Planning and zoning for something set. Not planning and zoning needs more to do, but I'm just,
I would say we might have to eat the cost and sell it to them for $1, and then we need to get something in the policy and the ordinance to go from there, right?
Do we want?
well, I think we just basically told the city of Adams what we're gonna do.
Well,
I mean,
I know, but
I mean,
it is,
I think
it is public, we,
yeah, I feel that we should have been trying to split the bill.
Yeah,
Well,
but then everybody's gonna want us to
Madam
split a bill. Yes, Denny?
I mean, they couldn't afford to because of the debacle they had up there with burning a couple of buildings a couple of years ago, that they got reported to the EPA and North Dakota Health, and they couldn't afford to remove the asbestos, and it's a bad deal. You know, and what really torques me is the state of North Dakota put, $50 million into abandoned oil wells, but they can't help us remove asbestos-laden buildings from any of these small towns that can't afford to deal with this problem on their own. But I like I say, they've got that ordinance in town of abandoned lots, and they have the ability to fine whoever owns them, and we own it. So it's kind of a catch-22. There's no doubt.
Well, the sad thing is the taxpayers of Walsh County are now having to pay for it, all the taxpayers.
Yep, exactly. You know,
I've said it
like
for
you said,
years.
how many more of these are around?
I've said it for years, being in Walsh County, we don't wanna own property or buildings, and look what's happening.
Chairman,
But
yes,
when they don't pay taxes and we end up getting them back, what do we do?
Yeah,
and then from I have heard, isn't there grants that are out there for asbestos removal?
yeah, with cost shares.
I mean,
So, but that's going forward to them, forgetting it, you have to go through their process for their grants to do it. We did it in Parks and Recreation. You can get some money for it, they do a cost share for it, but you actually have to go through every one of their steps and add it on top of what we're doing, so the removal can take an extra 3 months. Cause you have to apply to get the grant, and before you can have to start doing things.
I'm just saying for future buildings, like if there was interest, I think if we're gonna set a policy in place, there should be options, right? Instead of just, you have to help us remove asbestos. So if someone's interested, that might be a shut door, but at least if there are options to say this is available that could help with cost, it's giving someone who might be interested, an olive branch, if you will, to help. I mean, that's.
But typically they're getting these buildings to just demolish them, because that's kind of what we're talking about.
And the trouble with some of those grants, by the time you go through them and all their extra steps, you're better off probably not getting the grant and doing it yourself, because then they wind up price tags that's good.
But I know what it costs to tear down.
Yeah.
I mean, you're $4 or $5 grand for a little building, so it's something.
Would we tear it down ourselves?
Yeah. We'd send the excavator and the skid steer out there or those skid steer, we'll probably have payloader right now, the excavator, the payloader and the side dump and a couple of trucks, we'd have to haul it to ground.
So then how much of that lot has maintenance on it, if we're just,
Well, after you remove the building, all that we'll have to, because you're gonna have to keep the weeds down on it and mowing and.
but that's what I mean, how much on there has to be mowed?
Right now, not much, we've never mowed anything out there,
Okay.
to my knowledge, but
So if you,
afterwards you have to put it back in and reclaim it and.
Plant grass.
you have to do that, you can't just have it as
Gravel?
We
a
can,
gravel lot?
we put the gravel up, we still gotta spray it for weeds.
You're gonna be maintenance no matter what we do.
Well,
Is a lot without a building more valuable? I mean, are we selling it to them for $1 again, or do we tear the building down and then are we able to sell that?
What's it catch 22?
yeah,
What's the demand for lots and empty lots in Adams?
well, once you get it cleaned up, it might be
Yeah,
worth,
yeah.
$10,000 for somebody who wants to build a house living out there, I don't know,
I don't,
what do we wanna do with this?
What's the assessed value of a lot?
No, not right now.
I don't wanna be a landlord. I
That's
don't,
what
we
they said.
have most up in Park River and it's just, if we're gonna keep getting these things where we have to do this, I'm gonna need more staff just to do mowing. Cause we got all the summer staff, we've had them go and help with that stuff in the past, but it's.
Well, do we want a motion to sell the lot for $1 and eat the cost of the asbestos? I mean, what else do we do?
I'm just.
Do we wanna wait?
To you,
Do we wanna wait to see
Danny,
somebody talk to them?
Danny,
I think, I make a motion, we sell it to the city of Adams for $1 and move on.
Do I have a second?
can I ask a question before we get a second?
Nope. According to Robert's rules, no. Is there a second? There a second? Okay, hearing none, motion has died for lack of second. What was your question, Ernie?
In your heart, you figure they won't give us nothing? I mean, it's gotta be worth something to them.
If they're
Well, they're looking
asking,
at the cost of removal.
So you feel there's no negotiations left there that even if we went out there and removed it to see, ask them what they give us for the lot? I mean,
Well, you can try, but there's abandoned lots sitting all over in Adams.
there is.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
So we
just the
move
cold
it,
hard
Jen?
reality of it that
You know what's gonna happen? All these cities are gonna start turning everything over to us.
Madam Chairman,
Yeah.
that would be mine. I mean, I would be open to a motion if there's policy, if that's something that we're gonna declare and protect ourselves going forward. Like we need a plan. We can't just open ourselves up, set a precedent, and now all of a sudden, I mean, I wouldn't blame them. I would do the same thing, so I think we have to think about this. We have to make it a priority. We can't just wait for this stuff to happen and then be stuck in these spots, because this is more work, like Jason said. No matter what we do, they tear it down, it's their now it's maintenance, now it's, okay, are we gonna get in the real estate or sell it a lot? That's not what we want, so we have to start forward thinking what's in the county and what are we gonna be looking at with these.
So that's why, I mean, I guess selling it and eating the cost, we can move on with a new policy. I mean, right now, if we don't sell it, it's ours now, and Jason has to worry about it. If there's so many abandoned lots in Adams, you know, we're not gonna sell it to anybody, so. Do we wanna rethink this?
Right,
Sorry, but.
right now, if we make a policy, it's not gonna affect this because it's ours.
Right, but we do need to make some kind of
Right,
policy
right.
after, so.
I think we gotta jump on it before next, so we get something in place before next tax time and then when they don't pay, so it's a little tougher to drop it on, well, whether it's cities or.
Madam
counties.
Chairman,
Yes, Denny,
you have to remember there's also a liability issue with this abandoned building sitting there. The doors are open, anybody could go in there.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's a problem.
well, if we don't make a motion to sell it, then how long is it gonna take us to, if we don't have, do we have equipment that's available to, okay,
We can mobilize.
okay. Well, we're not working on bridges, so we can,
If nothing else, give you knocked into a pile where the liabilities go.
sure,
Except for people climbing on the pile, but.
So are we better off to sell them for $1 and let them clean it up?
Then we're setting a precedent.
yes,
Yeah,
so. Well,
It's a catch-22.
yeah, we can't win on this one.
well, then let's move forward and,
Do we need a motion for the policy, so that gets done, or?
I don't know, we just will work on the policy, we don't need to make a motion to, but to, you know, review a policy. Well, then we'll move on and, you can get a hold of the city of Adams and tell them that we will keep the building and we will have Jason work on that.
You know, another thing, according to Century Code, if it's turned over to us or whatever, can we make a policy? Does it change Century Code? On our back, you know?
I don't know that it's century code, is it?
No, but
It's
Century,
just a
if they don't
policy.
pay their taxes, guess who gets it? Us. So
Right.
now if we're saying something that they gotta do this before they give it to us, does that change? That's something Kelly have to look at. That's what
Yeah,
scares me.
We can,
We
I
can't.
don't know.
as planning and zoning, you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
can look
we got a lot of
at,
work to do the way it looks.
yeah,
Yeah,
some meetings going.
Yeah,
every meeting we just.
Okay. Okay, well, I think we'll move on then. Jason, do you have anything else?
Just run, final direction, am I ripping it down or are we selling?
I would know that, well, there was,
I don't know.
the motion, you know,
Motion,
lacked a
I
second,
think
so,
for lack of second, but
yeah.
for that, I don't know. I just.
Is it worth reaching out to them and just telling them what our expenses were and tell them that we just can't set a precedent by selling it for $1, but we would like to negotiate a price? So that we don't have to eat all of it? I mean, can we reach out and just talk to them?
I totally agree, Christie, but if we're negotiating a price,
Or 50%, are we gonna say
Right,
50%?
but then we get somebody like the city of Grafton with Wells Fargo and they don't wanna deal with that. And they say, well, you just set a precedence for 50% and we gotta take the
That's true.
benefits out of that.
It's true.
It's either all in or all out.
Yeah.
And I agree, you could talk to them to see if they can negotiate for paying all of it, but I think, like they said, there's lots of empty lots in Adams and that's what happens when people, you know, don't pay taxes and,
We gotta be careful and not get stuck with
Yeah.
buildings.
Yeah.
That's,
because other towns are gonna see this too, and so,
Right.
hate to say it, but
Let's,
I
so
say-
we can't recoup all our costs, then we keep it.
how do we prevent from getting abandoned buildings?
they turn it over to the
Pay
county.
taxes.
If they don't pay their taxes, it's ours.
I know,
It's, and well, it's always been that way. I mean, we can't, it's everywhere. You can't change something
How
like
many old
that.
how many old warehouses in Elmer did you got in town?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't think there's any other alternative or option, so Jason, I just say go ahead and
Mobilized.
Yeah, unless they wanna pay for it all, but I don't, if you wanna give them a call, give Scott a call and see what he says. If not, no negotiation, can we say, go ahead and remove the building? They can buy it for $1 or no, we don't.
I would
No.
make them an offer.
I'm already
We'll let
confused.
you, we'll let you have it for $1, but you take the building off, at least we don't have those
Well,
expenses.
that's what he's saying is,
Yeah,
they will the city will remove the building
Okay, I didn't,
for the $1. We would, that they would, stating that the asbestos, they would, like a document stating that the asbestos has been removed from the building, so the city can dispose of the building properly.
And the asbestos bill was 5,000.
Between the inspection and the removal is just under $5,000.
wow.
I didn't have that as off of memory, but
Madam Chairman, I would say that we mobilize them because you just made the best point when you said from an asbestos removal, that's not a big building. So if we're gonna set a precedent that we're gonna pay asbestos on abandoned buildings, and then you get one that is the size of Wells Fargo.
yeah. They're just gonna come back and say, well,
You did it.
We have them.
we'll buy it. Yeah.
We'll buy it after you take care of it.
Yeah.
We're back.
Okay,
okay. We'll mobilize and take it on.
okay,
Put the work order together.
okay. Anything more for Jason? Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break. Okay, yeah.
Fun time.
we will call back the meeting
Thanks, Jason.
to order.
Thank you.
And, let's talk about or added agenda here. So Amy, you wanna talk about,
We have been discussing a vehicle since I got on the commission. And so I am just wondering if there is one, or if we need to look at a procurement policy for vehicles, so it's consistent and it's an easy process for whoever needs one in the county, but it's the same process. That's my discussion, because I just don't feel like it needs to be this hard.
I would agree. I think that we should have just one vehicle procurement policy. You know, why do some of our department heads go to our local people to buy a vehicle and other ones are going through the state procurement process? Why isn't it all in one?
And I guess I feel like Ron, I don't wanna single him out if he's not open to it, but he seems to have a pretty good handle on how he does things and figures out to get vehicles, so if he'd be willing to help develop one and we adapt it,
I don't know if you'd really have to develop one, just tell them they gotta go to the state bid.
but that's what we've been doing and it's not working. I've been here over a year.
there's not anything in any policy
Right. We-
about cars?
We'd have to add it in the policy and be done with it, cause there's only really one. They just, or the health department, they just bought a new one from the Nelson Ford, what state fleet or whatever you wanna call it. So, and most of them have been doing it, but. And I agree with you, let's just put it in there, that's something in our policy, that all vehicles will go through the state bid and be done.
Right.
If it's not in there, I
I don't think it is, Amy, that, and I agree with you, just put it in there and be done. Then we don't have this argument all the time, unless you can't get one,
Matt?
and certain times they can't.
Mm,
Madam Chairman?
There's a comment in there, well, we can get one. This
Okay.
is what we're finding.
Danny?
Well, I guess, the state bid is for new vehicles only. What about those cases where we want to buy a used vehicle?
No, Ron said you could get used ones also, didn't he say that at the
But
last
they're,
meeting?
they're used, if you get the states on there, you're talking that 140, and I looked, there's a lot of miles on there, and I don't know if we're basically selling one, and we'd be buying the same thing, the one I looked at most of them. That's the
Okay,
trouble with used.
so then, but we're selling, I'll just say, law enforcement vehicles when have how many miles or about.
Anywhere from 100 to 150, I'd say
Right.
at least, or more.
So we would be buying a used vehicle with those many miles, wouldn't
That
we?
we're getting rid of.
Why can't we do like before we had, social service use one of the law enforcement vehicles as their extra vehicle? Did they buy it or did it just get passed on?
I don't remember how that, I wonder if they didn't give them some money just for a paper trail.
But
Yeah.
they did that, and yes, we would need a pickup probably, but why can't we do something like that? If the pickup typically stays in the county and we're getting something passed on for that, we're saving money.
So you would say maybe just get one from law enforcement
Yeah,
before it gets up to 140,000 miles, maybe at 100,000 miles, we get one from law enforcement.
something like that,
And then they upgrade,
yeah.
I mean, because.
Especially if they're up there, they go in a rotation of how they upgrade their vehicles,
Mhm.
so they can stay on top of it. Why wouldn't that work?
Most
We're
lot-
saving money.
Most logic with the pickup, it come from the highway department. If Jason or Brent needs a pickup, then, and I don't know I can't remember what the miles are on our pickups, but maybe upgrading the highway quicker and then give him.
Okay,
I don't,
maybe,
That sounds like a great idea.
do you think we could, give Ron that task of helping make that policy?
or even determining, do they have a rotation? Does the
Yeah.
highway department have a rotation? Does the sheriff office? And maybe you cut back a rotation a little bit, if it's someone's pickup, so that once you get to this many miles, if the weed department needs a new vehicle or whatever, it might be a certain amount of miles. I agree. I like the idea of us figuring it out within the county more versus going out And especially if it's been a vehicle that's not given us any issues. I mean, I'm never against used vehicles, and my husband swears that they're gonna be going down soon because there's so many vehicles on lots right now, but I just feel like you sometimes run into issues you don't know. So I still like the procurement policy of new.
The trouble with the highway department, I know since I've been there, it's just like, so Jason pickups, instead of trading, it goes down here and then it just keeps
Yeah.
going down. We don't really
Well, and
trade one there.
I wouldn't,
And I'm just giving an example, but
Yeah.
I totally agree, we can, then the trouble is, there's not very many departments in the county that use pickups.
mhm.
And I agree, Brent needs one if he's gonna haul sandbags, it's not gonna be awesome, but it's always that, and maybe he can use a highway pickup or whatever, I don't know. I agree with maybe you should just do it on new ones, and how do you do the used ones, I don't know.
Well, maybe we can have Ron check into that,
Talk with Jason about, you know, what their department needs are, how many pickups
Yeah.
they have, what the rotation is.
yeah,
Determine if we can figure out the used side within the county and then just have procurement for new.
yeah. I can go talk to Ron about that, too.
I think that's a good idea.
And I guess even used, if you can find one
Yeah.
at 75,000 or something, you know.
Mhm.
If you can on the procurement with the,
Yeah, you never know, and they're not looking for it either, so
Right, right.
maybe there is.
I think the point is
Okay.
we stay strictly with the procurement.
Yeah,
for everyone.
For everyone, so regardless if it comes from within one of our departments in the county or on the state bid, but we stick with that.
mhm. Okay,
And Ron could maybe come
come next
meeting
time.
with the update on.
Yep. Okay, I'll talk to him about that. Okay, Christie, you wanna give us a, report on the department head?
Sure, so we had a department head meeting last week, there was a lot of good discussion. This is just kind of items that are, I would say, food for thought. But one of the items that came up was the county website. We're still having issues with the county website, we're looking at maybe going to a different, I'm not probably saying this right, but vendor. So they are doing some checking into that, Alan and Ed are checking into that, so I think they'll be bringing something up to us. I think with the jail and that type of thing, we need a strong website, we need something more user-friendly than what we have now, so. They are looking at that. The other issue that came up was sick leave, they said this has been addressed many times throughout the years. But they would really like to see an incentive to pay out accumulated sick leave, not in full by any means, they're looking at some different processes from the state or different counties, but maybe you pay out 10% of accumulated sick leave. It's an incentive for employees to build up their sick leave and not to use it all. And then the last item that I wanted to address was there was some discussion on, I should have done this when Jason was here, but our part-time janitor position, we're still unable to fill it. It's been what now? 2 years? I'm not sure how long, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
So there was a suggestion at the department head meeting to fill it into a full-time position. I wasn't on board with that until I heard the thought behind it, and what they would like to see is maybe filling a position full-time with the thought that if the jail, if the jail comes to fruition, that person would also be taking care of the jail. And my thought was, we were told to have somebody on board that knew how to run all the meters and everything that was involved in that jail, but Jason feels that's gonna be his job. So just so you guys are aware, that's kind of what the department heads would like to see. They feel like we need another janitor, that it's too much on Mickey.
Well, I would agree with that. We will need somebody who will do the jail, not maintenance, a better word for that, I'm not sure. We will need somebody who is an expert at that, or that's their thing, plus a janitor, because I don't know if I would say you can't expect him to be figuring all that out on the grounds of the jail and then going to clean toilets, okay? Not that it would be beneath them, but I think that's two different jobs. So hiring another full-time janitor, that would be part of theirs, if possible, they would stay on for that jail. I mean, that's a big deal running, because we saw down in Barnes County what their, and I don't know what his title was at all, but it's a big job.
It was like a maintenance supervisor. or something.
Yeah,
I guess
maintenance
that was there.
supervisor. Yep, yes, Ernie.
I guess I don't like hiring somebody on the premonition that we're gonna have a jail. To me,
I agree.
I think, who are we paying or what are we doing over in Parker Ridge Extension Office?
That was my question.
If we're gonna hire somebody like that, let's move them to our other buildings. Let's have them go, instead of paying somebody else to do that again.
Yep.
If we got a full-time, okay, here's your full-time, but you're gonna go over and clean the extension office. I think that's,
And mow. We
Yeah,
talked about
yep.
mowing
that's
contracts
part
as
of
well.
and I think that's part of it. I think we gotta look maybe at a larger picture and do more in-house ourselves instead of subcontracting. And if we can do it, get somebody that, who knows, we might not get anybody. But okay, here's your duties. You gotta go over there and do that. I mean, how many buildings? You know, it just,
Is part of us not being able to hire somebody, is it because it's part-time?
I think so. Who wants a part-time job anymore?
Yeah, and then they would get some benefits.
If you're looking
too,
for
so-
security,
Yep.
and if you're willing to work, you're looking for security, and I sure the heck don't want a part-time job. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
My
Plus
other,
its benefits.
Yep.
Dang it.
my concern though is, how are we going to pay them?
Yeah.
You know, which budget does this come out of? We were knocking up the door on our mills, so knocking against the door on our mills, so we've got to be careful. But I just wanted to put it out there that that's kind of what
Yep.
they are asking for
Okay,
or hoping to ask for.
And I know in Nikki's defense, she just can't do it all, and we don't want her burning out either. You know?
just doing this building is a big job,
Yeah.
let alone doing outside work, maintenance and.
Right.
Is she a Chase too? Does she help with the doing? with the-
Some over there, yeah, I don't know what,
Yep, because,
I see
yep,
her walking over there.
yeah,
Do we know our subcontracts, like if it was gonna be mowing, are there things we could look at, you know, how much are we paying to hire this stuff out to be able to kind of put it together and get an idea of where we are? that
Jason,
might be-
Jason would have that pretty much on the building and grounds, I'm sure.
I also wanted to say, I talked to Ed a little bit too, and the city of Grafton's website came out, and I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it's
Yeah.
very, very nice, and so he mentioned the same, that as a county, they've had really good conversations with Jenny Dushik. She helped to kind of plug them in a little bit on what they did, and so they're looking at something similar to just
Yeah.
ease of use, and I fully agree. I mean, either the jail, whatever it is, you have to have, like I always say, if people come to town, they're Googling you. I mean, that's the easiest thing to do is where to find this, where to find that. So if you're not ahead of the game, you're not in the game, right? Like people are just like, I don't know where to find that, and our online presence has to be.
Right.
well, I can go on the website right now and, I can't typically, unless it's been changed, I can't find, township supervisors. And then I was looking through here the other day, and I scrolled down. And township supervisors were on the bottom of something that it's not even supposed to be at.
Accounting thing.
Not you, your family.
Yes. Yep, yep,
That's
Well,
the old DOS for
yeah,
dummies, that's the
so-
dummies.
But it also has to be kept up.
Yeah.
So there's something
Yeah.
to be said about, I mean, I think Angel did a nice job of making it more
Mhm.
updated looking. But if you don't have someone or contracted to keep things going,
Yeah.
that stuff is so over my head. I
Yeah.
mean, you
mine,
have to have people that, like your daughter, you know, as far as that know what they're doing when it comes to this stuff.
yep.
Cause things change, you get bugs, you get viruses.
Yeah.
People
it-
get disgusted and
It
just
won't
get off.
even let me,
I've got a lot of people.
If
ask
it's
me,
not
how do you-
user-friendly.
Yep.
But, so you guys know, each of the 3 items I mentioned, they all come with
Yeah.
a stay.
Like that.
Yeah, of course.
excuse me.
So anyways, food for thought.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, and I know it's a county responsibility, maybe not if you're at department head meetings, ask them if each department's willing to peggy up a little bit on a website or a janitor too, if it's gonna cost us. We're at our limit, what do you want us to do? Can you give us $1,000 out of your budget to do this?
Yep.
I mean, it's not worth that, it's worth asking. We just can't spend the taxpayers' money just cause they want it, and I get it, and I think we need a janitor, but you know what, you guys, put in your budget a little bit. Maybe 1,500 from each budget. Janitor expense. It's getting crunch time all the time, and
Yeah, good idea, Ernie.
I mean, they gotta be in this game with us.
Yeah.
You know, we just can't be finding money from nowhere.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, next, Ernie with planning and zoning.
well, I got a call from Jason Flanders from Minto, and he's trying to be a good neighbor to his neighbor. They're gonna sell their lot, and under the new regulations on the sewer deal, they gotta have so much. They need more land than neighbors, and he's willing to do it, but he had trouble working with the bank on papers. So Lucas sent me this, and I think you guys all got it in your emails. And just recommending that we move forward, and Jason needed a piece of paper or a letter, and if you read this letter from, if your name's on it and everything, I think Luther sort of wrote it up, that, you know, through planning and zoning, we fully accept it or get it and support it. That, you know, with the assistance of the health district to improve regulation on septic tanks and everything else. He wants to help his neighbor by selling him the land to assure that it's needed in the future. And after the sale of the land, his neighbor was remaining on rural lots and exceeds current standards of the rural homestead lots in Walsh County. And Luther just didn't feel like we had to have a special meeting for this. He says under the planning and zoning that. And I asked him for his help, you know, on planning and zoning. I said, Luther, where do we go with this? And you know, Luther, he researches everything. And so he figured if we get this letter, send it to Jason, have Karen. In Luther's thought, he said, maybe this might not be enough, but he said, I don't know where we go from this. But this is what Jason wanted, the letterhead. So if, with your blessing, if Karen would sign this letter from us representing the chairman or the commission, I think we'll move forward and give it to Jason and see, hopefully it works for him.
Okay,
I'm
do I have a,
confused.
It's
I just have to
it's a
ask you.
confusing deal.
Well, yeah, I need some clarification here before we move this to a motion, I guess, but. Okay, so Jason is selling some of his land to someone else
Yep,
because they need more room for a septic tank.
under the new regulations. See, I suppose they're not grandfathered in, and now that they're selling it, he apparently doesn't have enough land there if they have to build on the more septic tank,
Replace it.
replace it or whatever, under the new health.
Who
standard.
doesn't have enough? The guy-
Whoever's
the
gonna
guy
buy this
selling.
land from the,
So why does Jason need this letter? That's where I'm confused.
because of the bank wants it. It's all because of the bank. It's not anything here. It's the bank he's working with. If some mortgage or something, they want something stating that from somebody that.
That he has to sell this land to be a good neighbor.
Well, he's selling the land and everything else, you know.
The
I don't-
reason why he's selling the
Right,
land, basically the bank wants a reason why
Right.
he's selling the land. Now I get it.
And
Okay.
that's what I said, when the bank, and lo and behold, it ain't a local bank, it's out in California. And it's, you know, they think differently up there, so that's why he needed this, and I went, whoa.
Okay,
So-
now I
But it's
understand.
basically. Getting, the planning and zoning's blessing that he sells the land to Rooster is what it is. It's okay with it.
Okay.
So, under the new regulations of the septic and all that. It's confused.
Yeah.
I said, Luther, run me through this a couple, of course, you know, Luther Sharp. I'm like, man, I said, this is confusing.
Mhm.
But it's all because of what the bank wants on.
yeah,
And like Luther said, he doesn't know if the signed letter's gonna do it, or we're gonna have to send him an email doing it, or what, but Jason wanted this.
And then
Okay.
number 3 says, after the sale of land to his neighbor, Mr. Flanders' remaining rural lot meets or exceeds the current standard for rural homestead lots in Walsh County. So that makes me think that we're just clarifying that we're okay
Yep.
with what
Yep.
he ends up with.
And the way I read that, Amy, is that Jason's is big enough that if he has to increase his septic or whatever, he follows the new rules.
Then he's,
Yeah,
okay.
and that's,
so do I have a motion to, sign this, accept this, letter and sign it?
I'll make a motion that the planning and zoning approves you signing this letter.
Okay.
Second,
Any more discussion? Any questions, Danny?
Nope,
Okay. Hearing no more discussion, I will call for the roll. Christie.
Yes.
Ernie.
Yes,
Amy.
yes.
Danny.
yes,
Myself, yes, motion carried. Okay, anything more with planning and zoning, Ernie?
no, it looks like we got some work to do.
Oh, yes.
You're home.
So we all got in our packets that someone is interested in, being on the planning and zoning board, Mr. Matthew Richardson. I think that we will wait with that to appoint him till we find out exactly when terms are expired and, who's all on, who isn't on, and we'll go from there with information that Christie will bring back to us. And then we will consider Mr. Richardson's application to be on the board. I know who he is. He works for Coutts and O'Brien. I met him already. Amy, you must know who he is and looks pretty qualified to be on a planning and
He
zoning.
would be, I think,
Yeah.
a gift.
Yeah.
For your report.
So, okay, so we'll move on with, done with the planning and zoning. What?
Your notes, I don't even know if you can.
Oh, Al, I know. That's me.
You gonna do that?
Yes, so our last thing we will talk about, well, we'll just mention, our home rule charter. We've had some, inquiries about home rule charter. We have Walsh County is a home rule charter county. We have different things in this home rule. It is available to anybody on the web, isn't it? Or whoever asks for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's on the
Okay.
website.
That's another thing we need to put every policy on the website. If anybody, and of course, if anybody asks for this policy, they're welcome to it. It's public. If anybody is interested in changing any of the home rule or adding to it, that is their prerogative to do so. If they have to bring a petition to the county. And Christie, do you want to explain on how that works? The signature, yes.
Yeah, so depending on what on page 3, article 5. The citizens of Walsh County shall have the right to enact or to refer ordinances implementing home rule powers. So it depends on what, if it's an initiative or a referendum, the number of electors. So the signatures required is 15% for initiatives and 10% of referendums. And that is the number of voting, the number of electors voting in the office of governor race, the most recent one. So that number is on the Secretary of State's website as well, for how many voted in the governor race. And then, once they've received those signatures, then they would, submit it to me. Then we would review it and make sure it's sufficient, and then we would bring it to you guys. So until we receive it, there isn't anything that in my office that I have to, I prepare for. But I do provide, I'll provide this paperwork, but.
Okay. I guess, yeah, I'm sure you all have read over this.
Yeah, once the petition is, once I receive the petition, then it outlines what the obligations for the county are after that.
Sure. Okay, is there any questions on home rule? It's all pretty much in these 6 pages of the home rule charter. I guess we really don't have any business to do with it, but I just wanted to bring it up. It was inquired about, so we put it on the agenda to talk about. It's pretty straightforward. We don't do anything with home rule unless somebody comes with changes or a new addition to it. And we don't do anything till they bring up a petition with signatures and so forth. So, okay, any more questions on that? Okay. Denny, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, if there's no more business before the Walsh County Commission, I'll declare this meeting adjourned.